Let's talk about the history of this series. They are tied all time 7-7. The Broncos last meeting in week 1 of 2021. I was at that game. There are not many Giants remaining from that team. That was still the Joe Judge era. However, they have not played in Denver, the Giants, since 2017, and the Giants won that game back on October 15th, 2017, almost 8 years exact to the day. That's kind of crazy. Denver, tough win in London. I never like to judge a team's performance and outlook based on how they perform in an overseas game. There's a lot of stuff that goes on throughout the course of that week, right? The travel, the time change, where you're practicing, where you're staying, what you're eating. There's a lot of things that are different that week. So I never like to go out and say, oh, the favorite is going to hammer the underdog by 20 points. That's not true more often than not. Denver, obviously a little jet lag. They survived. They won by 2 points. I'm not overlooking the Jets in that regard, but I do think they are the worst team in the league right now. And Denver only won by 2. So, yeah, sure, it's a little concerning. I do attribute some of that to the fact that it was out in London. If it was in Denver, I'd be a lot more concerned. Bo Nix in this game, 19-30 for $174 and 1 touchdown pass. However, what's been winning them games the last 2 years, and this week, 6 games specifically, is the sack number. The Broncos had 9 sacks in this game. They only allowed 82 yards of total offense. Absolute nasty work by that Broncos defense. Jonathan Cooper had 2 sacks. Nick Bonino had 1. He leads the NFL with 8 through 6 weeks. Brian Burns is just 1 behind him. So, yeah, it's going to be challenging. You got Andrew Thomas going up against Nick Bonito. You got Jermaine Illuminor going up against Jonathan Cooper. It is not going to be easy at all for Big Blue to win this game. You have to try to keep it close till the fourth quarter, and whichever team makes more plays will win. And with this new aura and energy around Jaxson Dart, I do think there is a chance that the Giants could win this football game. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. The Broncos defense is elite. They have 30 sacks, which is first in the NFL. And what's so remarkable about this number, I don't think people realize this. If you take all 9 sacks away that they had in London against the Jets, guess what? They still lead the NFL in sacks if you take those 9 sacks away from last week. That's how impressive that number is, because the bye weeks are starting. So it's not like these teams are behind. Nobody's close to touching Denver in that sack department. Kevin says, that pass rush won't be easy to play against, but I feel Dart can surprise the world if he pulls out a win against the Broncos defense. It wouldn't surprise me. But, yeah, you're right. It'll definitely surprise a lot of, your average NFL fans. There's been a lot of players talking about him this week. Dart is, unintentionally getting under the skin of some opposing players, which he's living rent-free in some of their heads because he's playing that well, and that's a credit to the Giants. Again, Denver's a tough place to play. I don't know how I'm going to pick this game. We'll find out a little bit later on in the show, but I think Dart is going to play well. I do. I think he got the Raiders out against the Saints in week 5, that tough game. Comes back, good performance in week 6. You have 10 days between games to play in one of the toughest places in the NFL in Denver. You, of course, you have the altitude out there. A lot of opposing players aren't used to it. Dart grew up in Utah. They're playing in Colorado. So Dart is very used to that type of environment. I don't think that will affect him that much. But total defense, not just sacks. It's not just like, right? So the Giants have a good pass rush, and they're lacking in pass defense, right? They're 26th in pass defense. That's more because the pass defense is still young and developing. There's not a starter that's over 25 years old in the secondary for Big Blue right now. Maybe a Debo might be 26, but you get the point. They're young. Denver, on the other hand, they have everything. They have a pass rush. They have linebackers and Alex Singleton and Dre Greenlaw. They have a secondary with Patrick Surtain, Brandon Jones, Riley Moss. They drafted Jahdae Barron, who's not even starting. Jaquan McMillan has been a beast in the slot. So how did the Giants overcome this? Well, you stay ahead of the sticks. And it won't be easy because yards per play, they're first in the NFL. They've given up the least amount of yards in the league, and they've given up the second fewest points. Not only that, the Giants are having to work against themselves in this category. They have not won back-to-back games since 2023. They have lost 8 straight games on the road. So the Broncos are a team who defends home turf pretty well. They've won 7 straight games at home. That's the longest active home winning streak in the NFL. So, we'll talk about this in a little less than 5 minutes from now with our guests once they join, but you have to try to give Scadaboo the ball early. You want to get him yardage, positive yardage. You want Dart to get the ball out quick. And I think the relationship and chemistry that Dart and Scadaboo have, it's not common, right? Because very rarely do a rookie QB and running back come in together. The Giants have that. And they found a diamond in the rough with both of these guys. There were rumors today that Brian Daboll, actually not today, it was yesterday, that Brian Daboll wanted to draft Jaxson Dart at number 3 overall. That would have been an awful pick at number 3, in my opinion. Looking at it in 5 years from now, maybe. But you needed to get the best player in the draft, and it was Abdul Carter. Then you go ahead and you get your quarterback at pick 25. So Giants were patient enough. They're able to get it done. Great. But for me, you have to protect Jaxson Dart in this football game. He is definitely going to be kept upright. Dart has only taken 3 sacks over the last 2 games. The Giants have a team that's allowed 14 sacks on the year, and their line is going up against the number 2 defense in total yards. And their pass rush, we mentioned, they have 10 more sacks than the second-place team. Nick has 8 of them. Jonathan Cooper has 4.5. Justin Sternad has 3.5. John Franklin Myers has 3. And Zach Allen has 2.5. I just want to put this into perspective. When they played the Jets last week in London, they generated 16 pressures on 29 dropbacks. So Jets dropped back to pass 29 times. Denver had 16 pressures. That was a 55.2% pressure rate. Now, the Jets' offensive line is worse than what the Giants have. I will say that. And they're number 1 in third down defense for a reason. So that's why I'm saying the most critical matchup of this game is Andrew Thomas against Nick Benito. That's how it has to be. But Dart is really special, right? Even when he's under pressure, he's good at not losing many yards when he does take a sack. All in all, we saw it last week when he high-pointed that ball to lil'jordan Humphrey on 3rd and 12. The swag that he brings, his legs. Denver's really good against opposing quarterbacks that could run. That's one of their strengths and what makes them so good, right? There's a lot of defenses out there that are good at getting pressure on the quarterback, but they're not good at containing running quarterbacks. You see with, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Daniel Jones, even Bo Nix does it a little bit, not as much as the others, but yeah, it'll be very interesting. And I think establishing the run is going to be key in this game. The Giants, as an offense, they averaged 20 points per game. We saw what Scadaboo did last week. The Broncos held Breece Hall to just 59 rushing yards, under 3 yards per carry. And have good run stuffers like John Franklin Myers and Zach Allen, and then linebacker Alex Singleton, who leads them with 51 tackles. He's really good filling A and B gaps, and they might get Dre Greenlaw back. They just designated him to return off of injured reserve, and we know how important Dre Greenlaw is. Ask the San Francisco 49ers when they lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago. But more in depth with that quarterback number, QB's only averaged 2.3 yards per carry against Denver, right? Dart in his first 3 NFL games has 55, 54, and 58 rushing yards in each of them. So he'll have to get things going on his feet. I want to see some play action rollouts. I want the Giants to be able to give him enough time to get the ball off. We know he can move and bounce around in the pocket when he's under duress. But it'll be very important to see if he can do that at a consistent enough rate to give the Giants a chance. You don't want to get into 3rd and long like the Jets did. They were 2 for 15 on down, and the Jets had 0 red zone trips in this game in London. So we will see how the Broncos counter what Dart and the Giants sent. They have the best red zone defense in the league. Opponents only score touchdowns on a little over 28% of their errors. So you really have to figure out how to adapt and how to score. And I believe we're going to bring up our guest for the evening. We have two guests. Very honored and privileged to introduce them both to you right now from the Giant Take podcast. You guys are ready? We're going to bring up Josh and Alex from Giant Take podcast. Fellas, gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to be here with both of you. How are you both doing this evening?
Josh, you go
Doing
first.
well. Doing well. We just finished recording actually our preview episode for this game that'll drop tomorrow morning, looking at the Denver Broncos and the New York Giants this weekend. But I'm doing good. Excited to talk some ball for sure.
No, absolutely. It's going to be a interesting one. Obviously, the Broncos are a tough team, better than their record says for sure. And really excited, and hopefully we can kind of continue this momentum from last Thursday. And that's really all we can ask for as Giants fans. But thank you so much for having us on as well. I'm really excited to be here.
No, absolutely. Really excited to have you both on tonight. Let's throw you right into the fire. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your podcast. How did it get started, and where people can access work? Guys, you seem like pretty busy guys, right? So tell the folks where they can check that all out.
Yeah, Josh, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So our podcast began. We're juniors in college currently, but from the same hometown, so that's how we know each other. Been friends for about over a decade now. I feel like, right, Alex? It's been a long time.
That's crazy to say. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we started this podcast during the beginning of COVID, which was the spring of our freshman year. April of 2020 was our first episode. We're now 400 deep and more. And you can find us, the Giant Take podcast, on all of your platforms, and the Giant Take pod is our socials. And I've been going strong for a long time, and we love this Giants community. So obviously, again, as Alex said, appreciate you for having us on. And I mean, that's, I think, just the kind of the beauty of this landscape, the fan base as a collective. We're a great group. We stick through a lot of hard times, especially in the last decade. And so that's kind of what's been the most proud that I felt is, being able to be with this fan base and kind of share everything together. That's been my favorite part of having this show.
Love it. Well said. I mean, without even knowing you guys, I could tell we have that common denominator. We've all suffered together over the past decade and a half. And now we're starting to see a culture shift. So, Alex, we'll start with you here on. What do you attribute this culture shift to over these past few weeks? Obviously, with Dart, Scatterboo, the adjustments they've made with not having Malik Neighbors, pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think you really get a boost, right? Whenever you make a quarterback change, there's always that little bit of boost. But when there's the excitement that there was with Jaxson Dart and, everything that, Giants fans have hoped to see in a rookie quarterback for a while. And obviously the last time we had that was Daniel Jones. And, there's some similarities, of course, to the first couple of Daniel Jones games and how Giants fans were kind of reacting back then to now, which I'm sure, we're not thinking of, consciously as Giants fans, but there are similarities. But there is a little bit of a difference in kind of the swagger that Jaxson Dart has, the way he kind of operates himself both on the field and off the field. And I think to have this kind of duo with him and Scatterboo, who are so fun, so tough, so lovable really as players to watch and to root for, that it's kind of given the Giants this kind of underdog, doubted team that, these guys are, really just playing it play by play. Every yard, every inch means everything to, Cam Scatterboo when you watch him in Jaxson Dart. Like, these are guys who will go through players just to gain an extra yard or two. So I think that's really been it. And also Dable and this coaching staff embracing the change and the shift as well, right? They're bringing in new concepts. They have been adjusting their game plan to really fit what, the Giants offense does best. And the defense has also been steadily improving based on that offensive juice that we've been seeing. We knew the talent was there on defense. Can they bring it out when they're put in better situations when they get that juice from the offense who's driving down the field. And, when you see your short, small running back and your quarterback running through guys, it really boosts the morale overall, even on the defensive side.
Josh, what about you? Do you feel the same way? Do you think these guys are helping shift? Is there anybody else you think might be helping shift? Obviously, these are the two obvious ones.
Well, Brian Burns having the season that we've all wished he had last year when he was signed, and now finally kind of doing that, producing at this level where he has 7 sacks. He's one of the top, defensive guys in the league in terms of sack numbers in the entire NFL. I think he's a name you can definitely shout out. I think this is obviously, though, it's a very interesting feeling to have. We're kind of in a middle ground of, where do we sit as Giants fans? Are we Jaxson Dart all the way and Cam Scatterbo and let's go make the playoffs? Or are we, all right, I don't really care about game results right now. I just want to see these guys play and play well. And win or loss, it doesn't matter as long as Scatterbo gets touches and Jaxson Dart gets throws. But I think that, maybe after a win against Denver this weekend, pending if a win against Denver this weekend, maybe then those kind of people like myself, I would honestly say, who is on the side of more, I don't care about wins or losses. I'm just now wanting to see the young guys succeed. Maybe I start to change my mindset to maybe there's something we have here.
Yeah. I think you both pretty much said in the same boat. Let's move on to Dart specifically with his elements of his game, right? We all know he could run. He's got good cadence. He's got good poise in the pocket. We know he's accurate when he's under duress. What would you say the best ingredient to his game is right now from what you've seen, Josh?
The best ingredient to his game is that he has kind of a presence, and I mentioned this when I talked to Justin from Talking Giants earlier this week. He has a presence that just no one else is comparing him to someone. Like, he has his own moxie, as Alex said, his own swagger to the game, but his running out of the pocket is not like Lamar Jackson, and his passing is not like Aaron Rodgers or not like Tom Brady. Like, compared to Daniel Jones when he came in, the thoughts were, this is Daniel Jones, or this is Eli Manning 2.0. When Jaxson Dart comes in to the system here, there was no comparisons. There was no one to kind of look over to. So I think, honestly, his best ingredient is just him and his original kind of moxie that he's bringing to the game. And I think he's doing a great job at it. And listen, there's a difference. You can bring swagger, but you can absolutely suck, right? It's something that Baker Mayfield has learned to really hoist. Like, that's kind of himself, and that's honestly the only player I can really look at and compare to in terms of that aspect of it. But he's honing his craft and he's doing it really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think his ability, just passing wise, to hit players in the middle of the field and outside the numbers with both accuracy and, consistently has been a big difference for this Giants offense, especially for a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who oftentimes is, operating more in the middle of the field, and we haven't been able to get him involved as much with previous quarterbacks. And I think that has been a big thing for why he's been, succeeding so much. And he's not afraid to air it out either, right? So I think that's something that we saw against the Eagles. And he never has a second of fear in his head, I think is really, really important. There's no anxiety there. There's no hesitation whatsoever. He knows what he's on the field to do, and he knows how to execute it when the time's appropriate. So I think that's been huge as well. And hopefully he'll just continue to get better and better each and every week.
And he's put some good play notes, right? You saw Jordan Davis during the timeout last week, the media timeout. He's going up to him, dabbing him up. Jonathan Cooper had some comments about Dart. It's definitely a promising start. I'm not going to jump ahead and say, yeah, he's 100% it in 5 years from now. I want to see how the season develops. But right now, it's looking really good. You could tell checks all of those eye test boxes of a franchise quarterback that you do want to see. So I think you guys summed that up really, really well. Can we just take a minute to ask, how did Cam Scatterbo fall 4th round? Obviously, we know he started off at JUCO, Sacramento State, lower tier school, and then transfers into ASU. Kind of takes the world by storm. But how did these scouts? I mean, do you think it's just like the value running position right now that caused them to go this far? What it was his shot? Like, what is it? Do you think that made him fall to the 4th round? Either of you could start this off here.
Yeah, I mean,
You
listen,
go first,
I
Josh.
would. Yeah. I was just gonna say, I just wanted to tell a story because Alex knows. So during the later half of the draft, what is it? Rounds 3 through 7 are the same day, right?
Or 4 through
Or
7.
no, is it 4 through 7? 4 through 7. And I remember, I guess then it was rounds 2 and 3. I went to a concert that night. So I was literally at the concert watching the draft on my phone, as one does, as one sicko Giants fan as I am does. And I remember rage texting Alex. I mean, full on, like all caps, like 5 texts. When the Giants did not select to draft Cam Scatterboo, and they drafted, I think it was Darius Alexander at that 3rd round pick. And I was sending him like, why didn't they get Scatterboo? I love this guy coming out of Arizona and Arizona State. And I was so upset. I was like, no, they lost him. Like, he's the best player in terms of anyone at this pick. And then he fell, and the Giants got him the next day. I was elated. I think why he fell, though, going back to your original question, I think his size played a big part in that. I mean, he's only 5'11". A lot of the guys, running backs in the NFL, are taller. They consider that short for the position, and he gets tackled easier. Although, again, he is one of the hardest running backs to tackle, I would say, in the league. But I think that was a reason for it. And I also think, because now everyone says it, like all my friends who aren't Giants fans that I'm talking to about it, well, it's like, oh, Scatterboo's great. Like, I love him, but he's not going to last more than 5 years. I think that was a lot of probably GM's thoughts and front office's thoughts, was they saw how physical he ran, which is great. I mean, the guy doesn't go down, but at the same time, he always leads with his head. And I think that also steered teams away, that this guy will not have longevity in the league.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And the only thing I'd add is there were some traits, I guess, out of college. Like, no one necessarily knew what he was going to be like as a pass catcher. His pass protection is excellent. And I think that's something that modern day GMs do not value like they used to, especially at the running back position. And especially when you have an offensive line that has been as shaky as the Giants have been, you need that guy to plug those gaps. And Cam Scatterboo will plug those gaps, as you mentioned, Josh, going head first. So I do think it wasn't as much. I mean, you look at his production, right, at ASU, that was not the issue. But I do think his applicability to the NFL in terms of how he would translate, like, people were saying, hey, I remember reading scouting reports, he's not going to be able to run guys over in the NFL like he ran guys over in college. And sure enough, he's ran guys over in the NFL just like he ran guys over in college. So it's a mindset thing. And I think if you interviewed the guy and really spent a lot of time with him, like the Giants, I think, did, you really got a better idea of, like, this is where his mentality is at. This guy's going to be a great football player in the NFL. But there's hundreds and hundreds of prospects, right, that all these teams are going through. And sometimes with these later round guys, you just miss that. And we see all these late round gems each and every year. And hopefully Scatterboo can be one for, longer than 5 years, going forward for the Giants.
Yeah. With Scatterboo, another thing I like about him too, and I think you guys both touched upon this. I mentioned this before. If there were 50 Scatterboo on a roster, we win every game. We would win every game. Just the way he plays. I like to call him a truck with no brakes, right? When he gets hit, he keeps those feet moving. I don't know if you remember the Ron Dane days. That might be going a little far back, but he was drafted in the 1st round. He was supposed to be this power short goal line back, and he was built like wise, much taller, but width-wise, similar build to Scatterboo. And the effort just wasn't there. And that's why he flopped. And I think Scatterboo playing with that chip on his shoulder, knowing he hasn't proven anything yet. We see him moving short yardage, right? You want to talk about our red zone conversion rate? This guy has been insane. You guys hit on great points, but one other element that I think that is missing, and we did see it on Thursday Night Football, is with Malik Neighbors. It was very unfortunate. Missing a true number 1. And I don't know what the Giants should do if we do, would you trade for a wide receiver? And if so, is there one that strikes your attention as, oh, he might not be the best guy, but he would fit the Giants the most? Because I feel like if we're trading for a wide receiver, it's not a rental. This guy is going to have to be here for quite some time. I mean, they need an upgrade over Darius Slayton. As productive and consistent as he was over the first couple of years, he kind of just fell off. And he has that drop problem too. So what do you guys think, and who are some guys that you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, everyone, if you're on Twitter, is talking about Jalen Waddle and the bio now changing and that he doesn't have the Dolphins, which apparently wasn't true. And he did make that post and then he deleted the post. So there's a lot going on there. I don't really take too much emphasis on social media followings and unfollowings as a sign of things to come, but who knows, maybe it is. I think he's an interesting guy because he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily see the fit or the logistically how it would work when he's getting paid, $30+ million in 2 years from now. And you're going to be looking to pay Malik Neighbors at that point in time, similar, probably much more money even than that. And I don't know if you can really decide to pay 2 wide receivers substantial amounts of your cap, especially when you have a struggling offensive line, weaknesses, throughout depth wise on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's something to keep in mind. I mean, we've heard about Jacoby Myers and Chris Olave, 2 guys that are, not super happy in their situation. Either one of those guys, you're going to have to obviously sign them to a new contract, or you're kind of wasting the draft capital that you're, using to acquire them. So overall, I think it's very tough to see a positive outcome coming out of it, at least long term. I think it is very important that Jaxson Dart gets somebody. I do think a guy like Jacoby Myers makes a lot more sense as a guy who really can be that safety blanket for Jaxson Dart, whereas a guy like Waddle's really not going to do that for you. And even a guy like Olave has struggled to do so with the Saints, be that type of guy who can be consistent, on all 3 or 4 downs, whereas a guy like Jacoby Myers has had consistent production with the Patriots, with the Raiders, helping out his quarterback. So I do think he would be my top choice if those are the 3 names that, most people are talking about. He would be the guy I would go with, just because I think you would have to pay him the least. I think you'd have to spend the least to acquire him draft capital wise. And I think he's the best fit as a temporary guy and, could slot along Malik Neighbors in the future as well.
Yeah, Alex hit the nail on the head with the options that are available. So I don't think so. I'm sorry. I know the question is which, wide receiver could the Giants go for? I don't think they could go for anyone. Realistically, they restructured Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland, their recent signings on the defensive side and the defensive backs room. I think that was today or yesterday when we're talking about this Thursday night. But it doesn't matter. They were under the cap. Now they're over the cap by like $5 million. And, Alex and I were kind of talking about this earlier. If you were to go for Jalen Waddle, who they're all big talks on, this guy is getting paid 3 years, $85 million. Where are the Giants getting that money from? They're not, unless you lose one of your big pieces. And I don't really want to risk that. As much as a Malik Neighbors, Jalen Waddle, and Wan'Dale Robinson offense looks to me next year, it looks great. Listen, on paper, that sounds phenomenal. But And even Alex going for like a lower tier guy, I just don't think the Giants have the money, and they're going to have to restructure other things. And I mean, I guess this goes back to an earlier question where we were talking about what's going on with the Giants right now. But I'm still in the mindset of I'm not looking to make a run this year. So I don't think we need to trade for. I don't think the Giants need to trade for a guy to do so.
I think it's about the development also too, right, of Jaxson Dart. And I think that's why the Giants are being so aggressive with it. Or seemingly being so aggressive with it. But I mean, you're talking a Waddle, Wan'Dale, Neighbors offense 3 years from now. That's $100 million you're probably giving them total over each year. So that's something the Giants are going to have to consider. But hey, Joe Shane and Brian Dable are fighting for their jobs, so wouldn't be surprised if they go out and make a splash.
I think that's the only reason why they're considering it, right? They just now that I think about it, after hearing what both of you just said, it might make me rethink it in terms of, okay, maybe they should just get a rental then to get them through this year, to make sure these guys, okay, we'll have our jobs next year, so we could still work with this guy. I've been a fan. I think it's kind of a pipe dream. The Packers won't do this. But Dontavion Wicks is a guy that I've really liked. I think he's He's a little injury prone, but he gets touchdowns in games. I think he's a little bit underutilized. The Packers have an offensive wide receivers that are all just serviceable, right? There's really no star receiver. The closest thing they have is probably Matthew Golden, who's young. He's a kid. He's developing. I would like to see if they sign Isaiah Hodgins off the Steelers practice squad, bring him back. We mentioned that move only clears up just under $5 million. Hodgins, or if Davis is healthy, sign him off the Bills practice squad. I think that's where he is now. I know they brought him in for a couple of visits, so I think a move like that would make more sense. No,
it could. I mean, it could. Listen, the Gabe Davis on and off thing, I feel like has been happening for years, since like 2 or 3 years since Brian Dable took over and Joe Shane was the GM, and obviously their ties to the Buffalo Bills both coming from there. So I think, again, too little too late, but maybe, maybe they do. And then I want to see the same thing for Hodgins. It's been a few years. The guy hasn't played in games. I don't really understand the benefit of getting them. And also, let's not diminish lil'Jordan Humphrey last week. The guy stepped in up from the practice squad, and when he was called upon, the first drive of the game, he makes a leaping catch and catches it over somebody and basically mosses them. lil'Jordan Humphrey, if he needs to play up for a game, he will. And he wasn't that bad at doing so and helped the Giants win last Thursday. So I think, you have to keep his name in the back of your mind too. He's not a terrible option to call up from the practice squad if you need an extra wide receiver.
Former Bronco too, by the way.
True.
Little fun fact. So is that your answer for this next one? Is that the guy you're looking at, Josh, to be like, yeah, he's got to step up this week. He's got to take that possibly even wide receiver one role. I know we talked about wan'dale. Obviously, he's the best receiver, but he's a slot guy. Who's playing X? If Slayton doesn't go, is it lil'Jordan Humphrey? I mean, he probably gets blanketed by Pat Surtain anyway. So I'm kind of looking more in the middle of the field here, right, in terms of who needs to step up. When you look at Dart and how he spreads the football, he needs to do a little more over the middle of the field, I think, in the coming weeks, because that's an area where they haven't been able to target as much. That in this last game specifically, Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger were not involved as much because the Eagles had other holes. They were, down in the corner position in that game. But against Denver, they have stout corners, right? I mean, you got Pat Surtain, you got Shaquan McMillan, you got Jahdae Barron and Ryan Moss, guys that can play. So who do you think needs to step up in the receiving game specifically? Josh, are you still thinking Humphrey, or are you leaning elsewhere?
I hate to give the cop-out answer. I would have to say wan'dale.
Wan'dale.
He's the strongest player in the wide receiver room right now, if Slayton is a no-go. And he showed up against Philly. Now, he's very inconsistent this season. It's like the Dallas game stands out to me completely, but again, then the Dallas defense is atrocious. And then the Phillies defense is all right, but then he does well against them. So he's kind of like an on and off inconsistent player right now. But I do think if there is one, I can't really say, lil'Jordan Humphrey is going to step up. He's a good option, off the bench, hypothetically, but he's not a player that I'm like, this is a guy you want to watch out for in the receiver room.
Yeah, and I think we've all given up on Jalen Hyatt at this point. So it feels like a lost cause there. So, yeah, I mean, lil'Jordan Humphrey, I mean, he stepped up, and him and Dart do have a connection, right? And that's been clear. It was seen in training camp, and you could see it, last week against the Eagles. So I do think that is probably the route to go. And I would say, going back to trading for a guy, or going and picking up a guy like Isaiah Hodgins or, Gabe Davis or whatever, are you really getting that much more production from them than you are from lil'Jordan Humphrey or a Bo Collins or even a Jalen Hyatt?
And then you have no cap room if you sign them. So I just,
right.
I mean, yeah, you're going to have to restructure again. It's
right.
I just don't think, if you're going to go out and get someone, you need to go out and get someone who's going to actually really make an impact in Jaxson Dart's development. Otherwise, it's kind of a waste of time is my view on it.
Like we mentioned, Josh, about the restructuring, because when Joe Shane first took this job, he meant we only want to restructure if we absolutely have to, which they did over the last 24 hours. But yeah, I like Bo Collins. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I know you guys are up in the Syracuse area, you said, so it might have we're not really a rivalry, maybe a little mini, in basketball, I should say.
Yeah, non-football. We're not
yeah.
competitive anymore after Steve Angeli got injured. But anyway,
I
we'll
was
see you
about to
guys
say,
later
you
down
got
the line.
Angeli.
Yes. We do. Unfortunate
Yeah,
towards Achilles. But yes, we will see you guys later this season. I think it's the last game of the regular season, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the last two. We face Miami and Notre Dame back to back. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. But anyways.
Yeah. No. So I really like Bo Collins. I'm not just saying this like a homer here. There's a reason why he made this 53-man roster, right? Not just any random UDFA makes it. They could have easily said, here, you're going to go on the practice. No, they wanted to keep this guy. He's familiar with the field at MetLife. He scored a touchdown there against Navy last year for Notre Dame. And he's such a hard worker. And his stats didn't pop last season because they didn't need him as much at Notre Dame because they had Riley Leonard. They had Jeremiah Love. Clemson, when Klubnik was quarterback, right, they needed him more in the passing game. And I think eventually he's still learning the playbook. Might be a little bit longer. And his impact right now is more specials. But if you want to beat this Denver defense, you're not going to be able to methodically move the ball against them, right? You're going to have to make big explosive plays in this game. And Alex mentioned before, kind of gave up on Hyatt. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't see him catching a 50, 60-yard touchdown bomb. But what I'm saying is play action deep, first play of the game, 12, 13, you run Bo Collins on a post and you try to get something past them early. That could set the tone for the whole game. It really could. So I looking at Collins for that reason, if that makes sense. So
no, it definitely does. Hopefully he can get more involved. That's all I hope to see going forward. But they don't have many other options.
Yeah. Speaking of getting involved, one guy on defense, Brian Burns, consistency factor, 7 sacks through 6 weeks. Josh, we'll start with you here. How is getting to the quarterback on such a consistent basis?
Beating guys at the point of contact for sure. And I think also with how the offensive lines have to dictate themselves against this Giants team, which we keep on. I wanted to see where he was. He's number 3 now. So still in the top 3, 4 sacks so far this season, Brian Burns is. And yeah, when you have
Isn't he at 7 sacks, Josh?
What did I say?
4?
Did I not say 7? 4. Sorry. He has 7 sacks.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I don't know what
I'm not crazy, right? Okay.
My apologies. Brian Burns,
not.
7 sacks.
All good.
Number 3 on the list. Thank you for correcting me there, Alex. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's because I think offenses and offensive lines have to kind of dictate where they want to go. If they want to guard Kayvon, if they want to guard Burns, if they want to guard oh my God, I'm blanking. Abdul Carter or Dexter Lawrence. Where do they want to go?
Too many guys to remember.
Right. And it leaves an option for Brian Burns to expose, and which he has consistently.
Yeah. Abdul Carter, Kayvon's been a lot better this year, which I think's really helped. And Dexter Lawrence hasn't had a ton of production, but you look at the tape and he is taking up a huge amount of attention from the offensive line. And honestly, the guys next to him, Roy Robertson Harris, has been very good as well. I think a little bit under the radar. So, and we saw a little bit of Darius Alexander production recently. So I do think this defensive line is improving. There's a lot more talent. And we know Andre Patterson's one of the best in the business. And he's really been doing well with this Giants defensive line. And Brian Burns is also, entering his prime now of his career, right? He should be getting better and better each and every season. And I think he's been waiting for a situation like this where he can really thrive, and he's just been the main beneficiary, at least numbers wise, on the stat sheet of this Giants defensive line. But I think you can talk about all 3 of those big guys, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns, have all benefited from each other and are all having career years in their own way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I think it makes sense. And that may have just kind of answered the next question. When will Abdul Carter pick up sack production? Because you guys, I'm sure you both saw the script that I said. You look at the last few rookie edge rushers that were picked first in their respective drafts. It took them a while to get going, right? I think when you have such high expectations and you are a day 1 starter as a rookie, your development is rushed at really any position. It's easier to adjust the NFL level on defense than it is offense, because offense, you're more creating. On defense, you're reacting. So I think with Abdul, the pressure rate, I mean, you guys know his pressure rate is top 15 in the league. It's just a matter of time before they start coming, though. I mean, it's just Burns is fast on some plays. It's, opponent matchup based. But when do you think that sack production will pick up? Because with the way the stats and the history look, start to come very soon.
Yeah, I think it's definitely end of the season would be my guess. Post bye potentially. I think you see a big boom, and that's always been something you consistently see. But he has more than double the pressures of any other rookie defensive lineman in the NFL. So I do think it's going to come. You just look at the tape, how explosive he is, his impact. He's been great in the run game as well already. So I think it's just a matter of time. And I have, if there was what do they, I always see like the concern scale on social media of like certain players. Mine would be at a 0 out of 10 because I mean, he's going to be an excellent player. And they even had him playing inside linebacker for a bit when they were having issues there. So, I mean, it's not been the smoothest of rookie seasons for him, but none of his own fault on that. And I think he's just bound to be a great NFL player.
Yeah, Alex, I was going to mention that. I mean, you can't even give him a fair shout in terms of having as many snaps as he can because on the defensive line, at least at the edge rusher spot, because he's had to play linebacker because his room has gotten so thin with all their injuries. So, even more opportunities that he could have had sacking a quarterback or getting a tackle for loss. He didn't get those chances because he literally had to play linebacker because the Giants had no one that could have done it on their roster. So I think that's definitely another thing to factor into, and it'll come with time. I'm not worried at all, as you also said, Alex.
Yeah, the QB, I mean, you both hit on it, right? No McFadden. Lewis Sal had a concussion for a little bit. So, guys have been out. Now they lost their backups. Flanagan, Foles, and Bozeman as well. So, yeah, it's been a disaster in the linebacking room, just like old times, right? A few decades later, some things never change. Giant paper thin at linebacker. I remember the 05 play, last game against the Raiders where Coughlin was just losing everybody, and we signed some off the street the week before. It was brutal. I think his name was Kevin Lewis. Brutal stuff. But anyway, let's get quickly here. Keys of the game. So basically how this will work, just to run this down. So we'll each give like one or two keys to the game that the Giants really need to do to beat Denver. Obviously, this is not an easy task. This is one of the tougher places to play in the NFL. And with every team coming back from overseas, I think you can't put too much weight into the overseas performance these games, mainly because a lot of things change. I mean, we see it all the time, right? Like the favorite more often than not an overseas game by double-digit points. That's just how it is. The environment's different. Your whole routine is thrown off. If this result against the Jets happened in, I'll call it Mile High, I would have been much more concerned. But this, Alex, I think you mentioned it before. Denver's better than what their record shows. I mean, they very easily could be 5-1, possibly even 6-0. So how do the Giants get this done?
Yeah, I'll start. I think you're going to have to it's going to be about some big plays, right? That you're not going to be able to consistently drive on this team. And I think making those big splash plays, and Denver has not been allowing it this season, but, sending some balls down the field, some play action, deep drop backs, and then seeing if we can hit maybe a Jalen Hyatt. I know that sounds crazy, of course, but hitting him or someone down the field, getting creative around in the red zone as well, right? Converting those opportunities. We don't want to settle for field goals. I know it sounds like I'm a high school football coach talking about the basics here, but it really is about playing a clean game, not turning the ball over. And, that is what lost them the game against the Saints, right? It was turning the ball over 5 times. You cannot turn the ball over more than 2 times in the NFL and expect to win games, especially when you have a team that is oftentimes undermanned talent-wise. So consistent, not turning the ball over and hitting, targets down the field and getting a quick start as well. And the Giants have been doing that very, very effectively so far in the Jaxson Dart era, at least, with a lot of first half scoring, which obviously was unheard of for us for the couple years before that. But it's all about that, gaining momentum. And the Broncos are not going to be feeling, like you mentioned, they're not going to be feeling great about their last game. So, if you can catch them sulking a little bit in that first quarter and kind of really drive ahead, it's obviously in Mile High, so it's disadvantage to the Giants from that standpoint. But if you can get off to a quick start, I think that would also be very pivotal. I'm sorry for taking maybe all the talking points, Josh.
No, it's okay. I still have some. And Tom, I completely understand where you're coming from, but I'm gonna kind of go back about the point with the abroad stuff and playing in London or England,
Sure.
wherever they played in Tottenham Hotspur.
Mhm.
It's the Jets. I mean, we're talking about the worst team potentially in football in the nicest
Mhm.
way. We share MetLife with them. All happiness to the Jets. Love you guys. For the Broncos to put up the performance that they did, and I talked to Alex about this on our show. I said that game probably gave me one of the worst headaches I've ever had, just because of how awful it was to watch. I mean, I woke up to watch that game because I love football that much, and I wish I slept until 1 p.m. That was atrocious, and I think that for this Giants team, what they have to do is put points on the board, okay? Because one thing I did take away from it, at least, was that the Broncos defense is good. They did a great job forcing the Jets to score a minimal amount of points. They did a great job against the Eagles to only force 17. But another team that did that was the Giants. So I think that if the Giants get points on the board, I mean, Alex, you mentioned scoring quickly, and they've been so good at that this season, which, again, is just something that we just have not been used to saying in the last 5 to 10 years, especially in the Brian Dable era. So I think getting points on the board and alluding to your point, Alex, getting them on the board fast. And then the other thing is just continue to establish that run game. I mean, something that Saquon Barkley struggled with in that game against the Eagles was getting involved on the ground, just because that defensive line is very solid for the Broncos along with their linebackers. So I think if Cam Scadaboo, again, if there's really anyone I have faith in to break tackles and to get those extra yards, the yards after contact, it's going to be Cam Scadaboo. So I think there's any running back that can do that and be him. So yeah, get the run game going and let's score some points because, again, that's what the Broncos have been really doing well, is forcing teams to score a minimal amount of points in the modern day NFL.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you getting our confidence up a little bit here. I mean, saying, yeah, you can't bet against the Jets, right? I thought the defense still played great, but yeah, the offense struggled, man. I mean, Bo Nix only got sacked once. They were unable to move football. So that's a great point you brought up there, Josh. So I do appreciate that. Yeah, for me, I want a little different, but I really can't. You guys hit the nail on the head. I think one other thing is Dart and his legs getting involved too, on top of Scadaboo. And that will be a challenge against Denver because they only allow quarterbacks to run for under 2.5 yards per carry. That's not a lot of yards at all. And in his first 3 games, Dart has 55, 54, 58 rushing yards. So I think if you want to keep Denver on their heels defensively and how you attack an elite defense like that defense, we'll call it for what it is. Their defense is better than our offense. But if the offense can continue to develop, continue to catch them off guard, and if Kafka is able, to somehow outcoach Vance Joseph in this game, I mean, the Giants will have a shot to win this game. And I would look for Dart on his legs. I think that's another element of this game that, that it catches people off guard, but it's the Brian Dable mold in terms of what he wants in a quarterback, right? The legs are a similar trait that Daniel Jones had. In this instance, when Dart's under pressure, he could actually escape the sack. And I think that's what is so key and what goes overlooked. Quickly here, players to watch. This is Thursday. We want to catch our Thursday night football dose. Alex, start with you. Two or three. We'll go 2 guys from each team just so we could watch some football. Who do you got for Denver? We'll start with them and then the Giants.
Yeah, sounds good. I'd say Broncos. I mean, I have them on my fantasy team, so I've been noticing the trends. Courtland Sutton. When Courtland Sutton has a big game, the Broncos win. When Courtland Sutton doesn't have a big game, they're usually not doing so hot. So I think he's a really big key, big challenge for
Alex
Paulson
just wants double-digit fantasy points. Is really
I just want double-digit fantasy points. But I think I think he is a big key to that offense, because when he can't get going, that offense can't really get going. Yes, you got guys like Troy Franklin, and you got talented guys like Dobbins and Harvey in the backfield, but this offense really runs through Sutton. And when he's not involved, I feel like there is a chance that you could slow this offense down substantially. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to steal this one before Josh gets to say it. Nick Bonito. I mean, obviously we saw the tweet talking about now that, the Giants fan base is crazy or whatnot. So he's got a little chip on his shoulder. I'm sure the Giants, offensive line will have a chip on his shoulder. So that'll be a fun one for the Broncos. Josh, I'll let you do a couple guys from the Broncos, and then we could circle back with the Giants.
Yeah, do the Giants. Well, I was laughing while you were saying that, because I internally realized that I have the entire Broncos offense on my fantasy team. Ironically, I have Bo Nix, Evan Ingram, and J.K. Dobbins. So kind of funny that I called you out for that. Don't worry, we have Caleb Williams starting this week, and I'm not going to go against my team by starting their quarterback. Anyways, my player to watch, Alex, for the Denver Broncos, and I mentioned his name, former New York Giant Evan Ingram, at tight end in the, again, very interesting game, we can call it that, from last week and against the Jets, which, again, I don't know how much you could take away, but you can take away that Evan Ingram did lead the team in receiving with 5 catches for 42 yards. Not much to say, but it was enough to lead the team in that category in a minimal passing day. For Bo Nix in that Broncos offense. And then another Broncos player, probably J.K. Dobbins, just for his ability to not only be a runner, but also a pass catcher out of the backfield too. He's pretty versatile in that area. And I think that the Giants can get exposed in both facets, because they have a limited linebacker room, which can affect covering tight ends. We saw they had trouble doing that against the Eagles. Goddard cooked in that game. He had over 100 yards receiving. And then J.K. Dobbins out of the backfield. If a linebacker has to cover him, if it's not Bobby Okereke, who's it going to be? Because this linebacker room is just been so annoyingly, and again, it's not their fault. I mean, who can expect 4 guys to get injured? But just has been, lacking depth immensely. So I think both of those guys can expose the Giants there. And Alex, I'm going to keep on talking. Sorry, because I'm going to go Giants now, because you took down Broncos players first. I'll go real quick. We talked about him so much in this, so I'm going to say his name, Brian Burns. I think he can get more sacks on the day on Sunday. I really do. And I'll only say one, if that's okay, because I want to leave more on the board for you guys to touch on too.
All good.
Yeah. I'll go a guy I'm very interested in seeing, and congrats. I know this is his, I guess, camp opponent here, and Deontay Banks just had a baby, so congratulations to him. But the other guy in that CB2 role, Cordell Flott, who had a big game against the Eagles. And can he continue with that consistency, right? Because we've seen him have pivotal plays before in the past couple of seasons, but he's never been able to really play at a high level consistently. And against a Broncos wide receiver core that's, outside of Sutton, not particularly strong, I think he has the chance to have another really good game. So I'd love to see that kind of consistency from him. And then on the offensive side of the ball, it looks like JMS is going to be out for this one, but with that concussion, I am very excited to see Austin Schlottmann again. He had a 80+ PFF grade for his 33 snaps or whatever he had on Thursday Night Football. So he looked really, really good. JMS has not been super convincing as a starting center so far in his career. So if you got a diamond in the rough there with Austin Schlottmann, I think it's definitely possible that he could be a solid player going forward for the Giants. So I'm excited to see him up against a very strong Broncos defensive line.
I got 2 quick facts about Austin Schlottmann. One, he started that playoff game for the Vikings in 22 when we went up against them. And 2, he's a former Bronco. So he's got some ties to that there.
Little revenge game action for Austin Schlottmann. Looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. For me, here, I'm going to go with Bo Nix for Denver on offense, only because when I look at this game, right, the Giants secondary, a lot of people on the surface, if you don't pay attention to the Giants, if you're not content creators like we are, you're going to think that they're dead based off the statistics, right? 26th ranked pass defense in the NFL, wherever the number is. Bo Nix get going throwing the football. I mean, this season, he is under 7 yards per attempt in every game but one. And Josh, you alluded to it before. The Broncos offense has not impressed, especially against opponents like the Jets. They scored just 13 points against them. And Nix, he learned a lot under the tutelage of Davis Webb, a former Giant. So there's that connection too. Everyone's all connected. It's a smaller world than we think, folks. Bo Nix needs to do better. He has to throw the football down the field, and Troy Franklin cannot be fumbling. Did a game in London. He has to do better as the number 2 receiver. And then for Denver, they might get Dre Greenlaw back. They might just get him back. I don't know if he's going to play, but I know he was limited in practice today. He had that quad injury. I think it'd give Denver's defense a huge boost. Pairing him next to Alex Singleton at linebacker is definitely a scary sight to see, especially if Dart is going to take off on his legs. An already powerful defense getting that addition if he is to come back this week. I know he's questionable. It's a huge concern. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit. Luke Wattenberg is my honorable mention at center because he's going up against Dexter Lawrence, and his left side teammate Matt Pert is out, former Giant. He tore his MCL. So Alex Palczewski is probably going to have to replace him and start at left guard. So that is going to be a massive matchup, and that's why. See, this all ties in, guys. Dexter Lawrence is a player that I think is going to have a good game Sunday because the Giants need to stop the run in order to win this football game, and you want to rush the passer up the middle. Again, his stats really haven't been there, large in part because the edge rushers have just been getting there quicker. Burns has been so on top of his game. Carter's getting pressure. Sexy Dexy, I think he's going to have a good game. I think he is, especially against that Wattenberg-Palczewski combination. And, I mean, for the Giants here, I'm going to go with Gunnar Olszewski, and here's why. The Broncos allow over 29 yards per kickoff return in the NFL. That is the most in the NFL. And I think against a team that you're probably not going to be able to get long, methodical drives against, special teams is key and field position is imperative. So I think if Olszewski is able to do what he's done over the couple of weeks with kick returns, punt returns, I mean, it's going to be very instrumental if the Giants are going to win this football game. That's what I've got. What do you guys think of that? I think, definitely.
I think special teams is going to be huge. I didn't really think about it that much, to be completely honest with you. It's the forgotten third dimension of the game, but I do see that being very pivotal. And you know, the Giants have had a good special teams unit this year. You know, top half of the league, and that's been a big improvement from, you know, the past couple of seasons. So that will be important. And if it is, you know, if it's a tight game, special teams is always usually the deciding factor. So definitely agree with you on that one. Yeah.
I feel bad. One fun segment here before we go, but I mean, and make the game prediction. It might not be fun because we might all have the same answer. I think I know where we're all going with this. Still a player from the Broncos and put him on the Giants. Whoever wants to start.
Are we going the same way? I don't know.
I think.
Oh, maybe not.
I mean, I think it's obvious you have to go with Pat Surtain just based on the Giants' weakness, and he's the best player on the Broncos. Okay. I mean, you can't go Bo Nix because you got Jaxson Dart and Nick Benito. I think at this point, I mean, the Giants have so many edge rushers. I feel like he, you know, may barely even play. I think you got to go Surtain. I think Courtland Sutton's a shout, at least for the Giants' current situation as well, based on the fact that they have no receivers. But, you know, looking long term, I think, you know, Surtain's the way you got to go.
Yeah, see, I am looking right now. I don't know, Tom, if you're also going with Surtain. You thought that was the obvious option? I thought the obvious option was Courtland Sutton. I mean, if we're talking this entire time about needing wide receivers, we need one badly, and why not get one? If we're really doing this situation, this scenario, get Courtland Sutton, then you have a wide receiver one, clear-cut wide receiver one, by the way. No one's competing with him right now with Malik Neighbors out. So I'd get Courtland Sutton.
Yeah. To keep it interesting here, I do think Sutton is the obvious answer, but to go a little bit outside the box, the Giants are also lacking at that linebacker 2 spot. Being that we have a lot of money invested in Bobby Okereke, and we're going to have to re-sign Micah McFadden, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about him. I think he's a good, underrated player, that we should bring back. For now, I'm going with a slightly cheaper Alex Singleton to be a placeholder. A huge upgrade over Muasau, Neville Hewitt, these guys. You need a guy that could help stop the run. I mean, you guys remember he used to play the Eagles. He was their one bright spot in that putrid, 2021 or 2020 season that they had, where they lost so many games. Everybody was getting hurt. He was the one mainstay for them on defense. So I'm going to go with him there for that one. So Sutton was what I was thinking for the obvious answer. We need a receiver bad. Hey guys, let's wrap this one up. Who's winning? Final score prediction. Let's have some fun here with this. Start downstairs, Alex. What do you got?
I think it's going to be a close game. And usually when I say that, the Giants end up getting blown out. But I do think it's going to be tight. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. These are both pretty good defenses. Bo Nix is kind of in that sophomore slump. Jaxson Dart, we really still don't know exactly what we're going to get from him on a consistent basis. I'm going to go with a 20-17 win for the Broncos, unfortunately, because I take score predictions as what I predict if I were, to bet on the game. But, I really do think it could go either way. I do think it's a 55-45 type of split here. And I think the Giants have a better chance than maybe, the bookies or the predictors are giving us. But it's going to be a tough one to win, I will say. And the Giants are going to have to play near perfect football to get that done if they do want to do so.
Yeah, you guys aren't going to like mine, but I'm going to say it anyway. I have a 24-13 Broncos win. I really liked what the Giants put together last week, actually a week ago as we're recording this on Thursday night. But I just think that the Broncos are too talented of a team. And I think that all of this, listen, I love the confidence. I love the excitement. Beating the Eagles that's the pinnacle of excitement. You want to talk about a level, it's them and the Cowboys that you want to win against, and they're right up there with them. But I think this Broncos team is, as we talked about, they could be undefeated at this point. And I really, truthfully, don't think the Giants will win this game. So 24-13, Broncos win. But again, as I said on our show, Giants pleasantly surprised me, win this game. And I'll buy right back in.
Absolutely. I'm going to similar direction. Chalky here. Denver 23-17. I feel like all of our scores are in a similar place. I see we all have the Giants scoring under 20. I think that's largely, in fact, credit to Denver's defense, how awesome they are, quite frankly. And all in all, I think the Giants are headed in the right direction. You want to stay competitive in this game. The biggest fallback can be you get blown out and look like, what you did against Washington in week 1, right? We don't want to see that. We see progress. We want to see momentum. And we'll see if Dart could lead them to another opening drive touchdown. That would be awesome. Even better. Win this game. Please, because since Dart was named Giants starting quarterback, they have the best record in the NFC East as of right now. Keep that awesome. See if we keep it. But you guys were great. Josh, Alex, thank you both so much for your time and your insight. It was very much appreciated. I like to think we have a little fun here on these shows, talking every Thursday. You guys were great guests. Where people, one more time, we'll put your links in the description when we post this. Where can people find you and your Giant Take podcast?
Josh, that's all you.
Giant Take podcast. I was right ahead of you, Alex. Is on all the podcast platforms, and at the Giant Take Pod is where you can find us on socials. Ooh, I like that little lower third there. Thanks, Tom. I thank you for having us on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a blast. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You guys are great. I know I'm a bit of a character, so putting up the past hour. Really appreciate you guys. Enjoy some Thursday night football. And I'll hope to talk to you guys again. Sure, this is fun. We'll definitely have to do another collaboration someday. You guys keep up the great work, okay? Have a good night.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You too, man.
Okay. Great night.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye.
All right, guys. That was Josh and Alex from the Giant Take podcast. I want to thank them both so much for their time. We had a blast here tonight. A lot of fun on Big Blue Avenue. I would say, arguably, some of the most knowledgeable guests that we've had. They're both great. But yeah, folks, let's see if the Giants can pull this out. Appreciate you all tuning in. Next week, we'll be back live, most likely at the same time. I'll let you know. But yeah, let's hope for a Giants win. Let's hope to get to 3-4, keep the wheels moving, and keep this team going the right place. Folks, remember to love one another and check us out on all of our social media platforms below. Still getting used to this retainer. All right, folks, without further ado, let's go Big Blue.